What is up, guys? So, a new DC TV show that you're probably already familiar with. At this point, it has 5 episodes, or as of the recording of this video, it has 5 episodes, is Stargirl, a show that takes place on Earth 2 of the Arrowverse, which is, at this point, a universe that is a lot more similar to the comic book Earth 2 than the original Earth 2 Arrowverse, which didn't really have much to do with Earth 2 in the comics, but it's more similar because the main hero team is the Justice Society of America, or at least until they all died in the early 2000s, but that's actually what the show is all about. It's all about the fact that the JSA died, and now Stargirl is bringing together a new JSA to take down the Injustice Society of America. Now, the new JSA at this point, as of episode 5, and I'm guessing for the entirety of season 1, will consist of 5 members, 4 of which are replacements for the original ones. The members of the original JSA that were already replaced are Starman, Dr. Midnight, Wildcat, and Hourman. Starman, or Sylvester Pemberton, was replaced by who seems to be his daughter, Courtney Whitmore, aka Stargirl. Charles McNider, aka Dr. Midnight, has been replaced by Beth Chappell, aka Dr. Midnight. Even though his AI is still around, he is dead. Ted Grant, aka Wildcat, a character in the comics who typically doesn't have any powers at all, while the Wildcat on the show, I think, way more interesting in terms of their abilities, in terms of what the suit gives them. But anyway, Ted Grant is replaced by Yolanda Montez, aka Wildcat, and finally Rex Tyler, aka Hourman, is pretty simply replaced by Rick Tyler, his son, aka Hourman. And again, the only member who isn't a replacement is Pat Dugan, aka Stripe, who I guess you could say technically replaced Pat Dugan, aka Stripesy, from the original JSA. With that in mind, I will be going over now every other member of the JSA that has been confirmed, and go over who I think they should be replaced by, which will all be characters from the comics, and also I'll go over when I think those characters should appear, like what season 2, 3, 4, and onwards. I'll also, if there's time, go over some other members that haven't been confirmed to be a part of the JSA, but are in the comics, and who can replace them in the 2020s. So now that Starman, Dr. Midnight, Wildcat, Hourman, and technically Stripesy are all out of the way, let's go over the character who probably has the most potential for replacement, and that is Alan Scott, aka the Green Lantern. This is something that basically has to happen sometime down the line. I'm hoping in season 2 or 3, as Courtney took the Green Lantern that Alan used for his powers, from the JSA headquarters, and that Green Lantern is going to end up with somebody. It's just a question of who. Well, in the comics, Alan has been replaced by a lot of human Green Lanterns. There's a whole army of Green Lanterns out there, but when speaking of the superhero teams, we typically just mention the human ones, those being Hal Jordan, Jon Stewart, Guy Gardner, Kyle Rayner, and then even Simon Baz and Jessica Cruz, all of whom I'm not going to say they should appear on the show. In fact, I think they shouldn't. Those are all characters that are like the main universe Green Lantern characters, and while Alan Scott was also technically that between Crisis on Infinite Earths and the New 52, and now also as of Doomsday Clock, he's back as well, but still, he's also a JSA member, he's also an Earth 2 character, and those other Green Lanterns just aren't. If I had to choose one of them, that I'd go with probably Kyle Rayner, as I feel like he's the least connected to the main universe. However, I don't think any of those characters should replace Alan Scott. Instead, I think the characters that should replace Alan Scott are actually his children from the comics, Todd Rice, aka Obsidian, and Jenny Lynn Hayden, aka Jade, also aka the Green Lantern. He had 2 children, and those children I'm pretty sure are half-siblings. It doesn't really matter. Todd Rice, aka Obsidian, appeared in Legends of Tomorrow as, in my opinion, the coolest member of the JSA on that show. His powers are turning into shadows. You could use shadows as whips. You can make everything dark. It's really, really cool. He's also got a cool costume, and I would love to see him on the show. In fact, I would love to see him on the show already in season 2. However, as a replacement for a Green Lantern, I think that Alan Scott's Green Lantern should end up with his daughter, Jenny Lynn Hayden, aka Jade, again, also aka the Green Lantern, as there's no other, I think, Earth 2 Green Lantern other than Alan Scott and his daughter, and I think that it would be perfect if his 2 children, Obsidian and Jade, would replace him in the new JSA. Another character from the original JSA that has a lot of potential for replacements is Jay Garrick, aka The Flash. I should say that Alan Scott and Jay Garrick haven't been confirmed to be their names, but it's pretty clear which versions of these characters they are, as not only do they look like them, they have those costumes, but also they are in the JSA. But much like Green Lantern, The Flash has had a lot of people using that mantle, and a lot of successors to the original one, which is Jay Garrick, those successors being Barry Allen, Wally West, and Bart Allen. But much like the human Green Lanterns that I mentioned earlier, none of these characters should appear on the show, as they're all Earth 1, or even in the Arrowverse, Earth Prime characters that should not appear in Earth 2, or at least shouldn't be from Earth 2, and also they shouldn't be members of the JSA. Instead, another speedster that I think should be from Earth 2 should appear on the show, and should be a member of the JSA, is a character who already appeared in the Arrowverse, and also was already from Earth 2, and that's Jesse Quick. Jesse Quick is a JSA member in the comics, unlike Barry Allen, Wally West, and The Flash, and I think that as a speedster, and also a character who already was from Earth 2 in the Arrowverse, it would be kind of perfect for Jesse Quick to replace Jay Garrick. Another option would be her mother, Liberty Bell, who was also a member of the JSA, and also would be a good replacement for Jay Garrick, but I think that Jesse Quick is a more popular character, and a character who I think more people would like to see, even if she is replacing the original Earth 2 Arrowverse version of the character, which I don't think would be a problem, because that actress is on a different show. She probably wasn't ever going to come back to The Flash anyway, so replacing her with a character on Stargirl, I think would be fine. Another character who actually has a lot of potential successors, maybe even more so than The Flash and Green Lantern, because none of these successors are off limits because they're supposed to be from a different universe. Technically, I could have used Barry Allen or Hal Jordan, but I didn't want to because they're not really JSA characters. However, here, every single successor of this character can be the successor on the show. The character is Kent Nelson, aka Dr. Fate. Now again, we don't know if this is Kent Nelson, but I think we can assume that it is. But like I said, Dr. Fate has had a lot of successors. It's not difficult to just take off Kent Nelson's helmet and put it on somebody else. That other person doesn't really need a whole origin story to become Dr. Fate. But certain characters who have replaced Kent Nelson are, one, his wife, Inza Kramer, Hector Hall, who is the son of Hawkman Hawkgirl, Eric Strauss, and also his stepmother, Linda Strauss, Khalid Nassauer, don't know how to pronounce that, and his Earth 2 counterpart who debuted before him, Khalid Ben Hassin, aka Dr. Fate. Now, the character that I would think that would replace Kent Nelson the most is actually Hector Hall, as he is probably the most prominent Dr. Fate other than Kent Nelson. However, I'm not going with him because of Hawkman and Hawkgirl, something that I'll get to later. It's because of Carter Hall and Kendra Saunders being Hector Hall's parents, but this time around in this universe, I don't really think that can happen logistically, so because of that, I'm not going to be using Hector Hall here. Also, not going to be using Inza Kramer, not going to be using Eric Strauss or Linda Strauss, because for Eric and Linda, they're not interesting enough. I'm also not going to be using Khalid Nassauer, because while I do think that he is the most usable of these characters, he is less interesting than his Earth 2 counterpart, Khalid Ben Hassin, who I think should be the replacement for Kent Nelson on this show. First of all, his costume is amazing, probably the best Dr. Fate costume ever, the Earth 2 Dr. Fate that we saw in the New 52 comics, but also his story is a lot more unique compared to the other Dr. Fates, and I think that he would fit the best as a replacement for Kent Nelson. Next up is Johnny Thunder and his Thunderbolt, which it has a pretty easy replacement, and that's Jakeem Thunder and the Thunderbolt. Now, this is a character that was kind of already mentioned on the show, as Mike Dugan said he has a friend named Jakeem. It's very possible that Jakeem will come to Blue Valley, and that Jakeem will become Jakeem Thunder, and he will team up with the Thunderbolt. He will become, I don't really know how it works, like the vessel of Thunderbolt, the user of Thunderbolt. However it works, that's who is going to replace Johnny Thunder. So then there's Wesley Dodds, aka Sandman, who doesn't have all that many potential replacements, but there is one that is pretty easy, and that's Sanderson Hawkins, also aka Sandman, who was the sidekick and then successor to the original Sandman. There's really no other options, but we don't really need any other options because this is a perfectly good one in Sanderson Hawkins, who should replace Sandman. So then, finally, there's Hawkman and Hawkgirl. Now, it hasn't been confirmed who these characters are. Like, it could be that the ones on the JSA were Carter Hall and Kendra Saunders. It could also be, however, that they are the Thanagarian versions of those characters, Qatar Hall and Shayara Thol. It doesn't really matter who they are, because whoever they are, they died, and now they've been reincarnated, and at this point, they're like 10, 11, 12 years old. So if they were to join the show, they would have to join probably later in the show, like season 5, if the show lasts that long. And even then, they would be teenagers. Because of that, I would prefer it if Qatar Hall and Shayara Thol were members of the JSA, and then the new members, which would be characters from Earth, they would be humans. That's Carter Hall, aka Hawkman, and Kendra Saunders, aka Hawkgirl. That's the reason I didn't make Hector Hall the next Dr. Fate, because he is the son of Carter Hall and Kendra Saunders, and they, at this point, are like 10, 11, 12 years old. They don't have children, and they certainly don't have a child who could be a superhero, that's for sure. So I don't think that Hector Hall should be Dr. Fate, but I also don't think that Carter Hall and Kendra Saunders should have been members of the JSA. Instead, Qatar Hall and Shayara Thol, and now Carter Hall and Kendra Saunders are returning probably later, like in seasons 4 or 5, as members of the new JSA, but also they would be like 16 or 17 years old even at that point. So now that I went over Hawkman and Hawkgirl, I realized I didn't mention which season I think each one of these characters should appear, so let's go over each one of them. I think that season 2 should deal with the introductions of Jesse Quick, as well as Obsidian and Green Lantern, so replacing the Flash and Green Lantern. Season 3 could replace Dr. Fate and Thunderbolt, and then season 4, Sandman, and then like I said, season 5, only in season 5, should replace Hawkman and Hawkgirl. But also, there are other members of the JSA in the comics who aren't confirmed to be members of this JSA that I think can not only be members of the original JSA, but also have replacements. I'll go over them quickly because they're not really as important, but there is, for instance, Al Pratt, aka The Atom, who could be replaced with Ray Palmer or even Ryan Choi, but much like Green Lantern and Dr. Fate and The Flash, I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'll be replacing him with Atom Smasher. There's the Spectre, who would be replaced by Crispus Allen, aka the Spectre, while the original one is Jim Corrigan. There's also Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, who could be members of the original JSA, and the replacements would be Power Girl for Superman, Robin for Batman, and honestly, I don't know for Wonder Woman. She doesn't need a replacement, so I'm just going to leave that there. There's then Commander Steel, who could pretty obviously be replaced by Citizen Steel, his son or grandson. Red Tornado could be replaced by Cyclone. Terry Sloan, aka Mr. Terrific, would be replaced by Michael Holt, aka Mr. Terrific. And then Grant Emerson, aka Damage, could be replaced by Ethan Avery, also aka Damage. So anyway, that's who I think should replace each member of the JSA on Stargirl going forward. Let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are on all of this. Also, let me know in the comments down below what you think about Stargirl. I personally really like it. I really like what they've been doing so far. The costumes are really cool. The visual effects are cool. I really especially like how they've updated all the powers, made them way cooler. Like giving Stargirl's staff a personality. What they did with Wildcat, making her powers way cooler than they are in the comics. All of those things are things that I really do like about the show. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you like this video, make sure to leave a like, share, and subscribe. And thanks for watching.